Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Coffee with Mirko. Today I'm very happy to have Emi Fukahori, and yeah, we'll bring her on, and as per usual, we're just gonna ask question, answer your question, and bring it back. So if you're enjoying the podcast, if you're enjoying the show, please make sure to take a good screenshot, reshare it, retweet it, and do your magic. Hey Vag, Jacqueline, Arzang, Wise, Rod. Hey Rod. Rod is in the building, literally. I'm gonna send the invite to Emi, and then she will come on. Got beautiful sets of questions for her, so once she's joining us, we'll be able to go through them. So big shout out to Carl White, AA, Os Consult, good to see you. Train with the Coma Coffee, Tall Americano, Mowgli, Tarlan, Hey Rod, Gramfire, yeah, big shout out. Hey Bianca, Bianca's in the house. Peter, good to see you, Peter. Good to meet you yesterday, brother. It was really good. And we're just waiting on Emi. She will be on real soon. And yeah, she's the 2018 World's Brewers Cup champion. So she's a very interesting person to talk to. And Bianca, I'm sure you're going to love her. Hey, 2403 Mamad, Giyu, good to see you all. And hopefully we'll get Emi to join us soon. Jaguar, Joel. I'm doing well, Bianca. Thanks for asking. I'm very well. Very excited to talk to Emi. Very excited to be back on the show, live stream. We're keeping it simple, 2 to 3 sessions per week. Spread it out. Don't spam, you guys. Miguel Mora, good to see you. And Rock VCP and Barista. So yeah, Sukhothai Cafe is in the house too. So for people joining us through, this is a show where we bring on coffee people and we have a chat with these amazing characters and people, and we just have a good time and ask all the questions that we need to ask, and you can ask yours. Hey Dirkbat, I might send through this again to Emi. Here we go. We are live. Send. So, yeah. And who else is tuning in? We got Durga, Janina. Good to see you, Janina. We had an interview with Janina just last week, and we just actually released that on our YouTube and podcast. So we'll be able to do all those things. You can catch up again with that. And yes, Bianca, she's here. So just waiting on Emi. She'll tune in real soon. Last week we had difficulties with Ralph from the barn. Hey Connor, good to see you again, guys. Alia, Diwani, Tanti's in the house, always in the house. Thank you for tuning in. Swen Espresso, Os Consult, the best two emojis. Those are the best two emojis possible, you know? I think so. Hey, Wise. Oh, it's Maya. Good to see you. Can't wait to have you on. So people usually got check out this amazing profile, her amazing profile. Emi's in the house too. So we'll bring her in, straight in. Good morning.
Morning. Sorry for sorry for being
No,
late.
you're good. That's not a problem. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Well, good evening for us, but yes, good
Good
morning to you.
evening.
No, thank you for coming in. I know how you Matthew busy, and really happy to have you on. So all the people who tuning in will are in for a treat. So thank you for giving your time to us. Before we dive in, how's everyone and your family with with the virus and everything? Everyone okay?
Yeah, everything okay. Thanks for asking. Everybody fine. It has been difficult, but we've been very fortunate and privileged that we are
Mhm.
healthy. No symptoms, nothing. Also, anyone who we have, friends, family overseas, everybody is fine. So thanks for asking.
Fantastic. That's amazing. Emmy,
Mm,
first question, just for the people who tune in later, rewatch this. Can you please give us a little bit of your story, your background story? How did you start
sure.
your coffee journey?
All right. So my name is Emi. I'm originally from Japan. It's been almost 10 years. I live in Switzerland. Um, Studying in tourism in Switzerland, that brought me to live and work in Switzerland. I left my job being super international, being in tourism, but then I was also looking for something that I can enjoy sharing taste experience in something. And then coffee happens to be my life at a time. At a time, and I also got to know different people from different cultures through coffee. So that's how I got hooked with coffee. And since I was working in office, competition, taking part in a competition was my first way, and also still best way to learn about coffee. So I stepped into a championship in 2015, and I was not a barista at the time, but well, that's how I kind of got into deeper and deeper in coffee. And then 2016, I co-opened a coffee shop called Mame together with Matthew, and it's been like a roller coaster since then. I'm competing, he's competing. We have two shops, one roastery in the meanwhile. Yeah, 2020, it's been very, you know, crazy, but cool.
And you're very humble because you skipped 2018 when you won the World's Brewers Cup competition.
I,
I
true.
mean, oh, true. Yes, I forgot about that. Not a big deal.
Mm,
It is.
it is,
Um,
yeah.
Obviously, I mean, how defining was that for you in terms of your career?
Well, so through that experience, I mean, each year competition gives me a nice spectrum of specialty coffee with different people, maybe bigger quantity of people, bigger and bigger. But 2018 is definitely a big turning point for me. I see it like rather as a starting point because being in this industry professionally for such a short period, I've been given so many opportunities through competitions, and winning the world championship just gave me another task, so to say. And I'm starting the new journey from there, and it's been great. I really enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, congratulations. I mean, I think that's brilliant, and I think that it's something that I'm very passionate about in terms of topic. It was also an important achievement as well for you and all the women in coffee. I mean,
Mm.
the, do you feel a sense of pride and responsibility because we got you, we got Aga, we got a whole bunch of amazing female baristas, and I think that was a big topic that we spoke with Janina just last week. I mean,
Right,
do you
true.
feel sense of pride as well in terms of?
Mm, so my coffee career has been always with female baristas or female coffee professionals around me, and it was kind of like interesting to hear that there's a bunch of people who don't feel in this way. Let's say, unfortunately. So personally, I don't necessarily feel the gender difference winning the world championship. However, I do recognize a group of women who maybe feel encouraged to also take part in it. They can also try because I could do it. So I really like that sort of responsibility, so to say, that I could showcase anybody who is into it, and also competition wise, it's not only about being the number one on that day. It has a lot of things around it, and I learned a lot about myself as well.
Of course.
So taking part, taking it as a nice challenge, enjoy the path, progress together with other people around you, female, male. So if I could, let's say, encourage more people doing it because of my gender, maybe also females, that would be brilliant. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. And Janina just pointed out beautifully, you were the first world female brewer champion.
Ah, yes. Ah,
So,
Janina.
she's saying with big power comes big responsibility, says Spider Women. So that, that's said beautifully. Thank you, Janina. And could you unpack the concept of enjoying the process of training rather than the actual trophy when it comes to competition?
Sure. So I think fundamentally for me, competition always meant as a personal growth in knowledge, myself, anything that you can take as a challenge itself. So whenever you take part in a category of, let's say, barista or brewers or latte art or whatever you want to take, I think for me it's important that I kind of foresee how the process goes. So let's say I have 4 months to compete, and then I try to plan like, okay, 2 months to choose coffee, 1 month to think about how to brew, 1 month to kind of fine tune the presentation. And nothing works as a plan. Like originally nothing works as a plan, but then that also trains me to be adapting and finding the solutions. And that's very little things to do actually with the coffee, because being patient or be organized, finding the solutions, these are like something that you need in both personal life and also professional life. So through a very concentrated period of my competition career, I quickly realized that it's not about which coffee is the best of the year, which coffee has to present in a which way that it was presented like 2 years ago by XYZ. It's more about finding your own reasons and making it strong enough to be able to present it on the day due, hoping that your judges or your customers, so to say, kind of buy your idea, and like your coffee, and score what you've done for, let's say, 4 months. But then obviously that's just one of a day of the long period. So I think everybody has to be ready to accept, okay, that's not best day of what you've been doing, but that's fine, because you've been giving the maximum of what you can do. So that's for me the most important part, that I'm not actually really thinking about trophy. Obviously, you could have a certain goals, particularly saying like myself in 2018, I was saying I would like to brew my coffee twice, meaning I would like to go to the finals. But for me, it was not saying I would like to go to finals, but it was more like I wish I could present this coffee twice. Because if you brew once among 40 national champions, I think it's less heard or less paid attention, not being negative, but just because you are many. But if you go on a top six, you can present your favorite coffee actually once again and for bigger audience or bigger attention. So that was my motivation.
Yeah, and in your case, your coffee tasted the best on the final, so
Yeah, luckily.
that worked out.
Yeah.
um, I mean, and that was such a yeah, it was very interesting routine, and I loved rewatching it. I watched it
Ah,
last week
thanks.
when I was preparing some questions, but yeah, no, I love what you said. I think enjoying the process is also a good reminder for why our values, what's important to us, rather than just winning. I mean, obviously, winning has a fine element of having a trophy, but then it doesn't stop there, like you said. I think you said it
No.
perfectly. It's a starting point. So
Mm.
I think that's something. It's not like, oh, I won, I can close the shop now. That's when you the second and third
Yeah,
shop, or you
exactly.
and that's why one of my favorite numbers is 99 out of 100, because you still have the 1 point to work for and to work towards, rather than, oh,
Mm.
I got 100, then I can sit down.
Right.
Um, what I love about you and Matthew is that you're both in coffee
Yeah.
and together in real life. I mean, how nice is to share the same passion with your partner?
I think in the end, I didn't think that I would enjoy that kind of lifestyle if I haven't tried before. Meaning, you're with your business partner as a life partner. Our focus is very same. Let's say we think coffee, we talk coffee, we love coffee, we do always coffee. But as I said, like because both of us coming from office work, or let's say something else. And then we still can't believe that we are living out of coffee. It's quite crazy, you know. Like we are so fortunate to find something that we like. It could be anything, but it happens to be coffee for us. And we kind of merged at some point. We both like coffee at the same level. We want to do the same thing. We think so differently, actually. So it's a nice challenge because I often don't understand what he says, and he doesn't understand me either. So we have to
Of
kind of
course.
like, we have to kind of like try to explain what we are thinking about outside or inside of coffee. So it's actually quite practical. It's sometimes very exhausting, but we have to also learn, okay, now we stop coffee, we do something else, like we do something for us, or like, you know, have something interesting for us. But then that part outside of coffee is also kind of similar or same for each other, like having a nice meal or nice wine or drinks or whatever. So in the end, it's good that you have same job, same work, same interest, same thing. Sounds a bit too much sometimes, but actually quite good. We've been doing well
Oh
so
yeah,
far.
of course. You have. I mean, you wouldn't be where you are now. But obviously, relationships that bring challenges of their own by themselves. Of course, it must be tricky. But I find it very nice. And look, I mean, yeah, Janina is on fire. She's saying, imagine the morning brews in that house. Yes, that's yeah. I can't. Well, speaking of which, are you drinking coffee right now? Of
Right, yes, I do.
course. Janina was on
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
Um,
true.
Going back on the element of the industry, overall industry, and who you represent and what you do,
Mm,
coffee has often been put next to this male industry, right? But thanks to people like you and Aga, Janina, John, like I think this is really pushing more girls and women to chase their coffee dreams, right? And we have
mm,
actually right now watching this Bianca, this 16-year-old girl from Indonesia who's already started
mm.
roasting, pouring, brewing, super passionate about coffee. What words would you have for especially young women to get started? Because you get a little bit of pressure of you should be doing certain things, certain jobs.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your take?
Well, it's been always, it must be always like, you know, challenging when you have, let's say, kind of a thoughts or judgments, so to say, from
Mm.
outside. And sometimes it's not easy to cope with it. You know, the world is not a fair tale. Sometimes can be very, very difficult in a way. Um, I think finding what you truly like to do and then try to communicate that with each single person you come across helps you a lot to also understand what exactly you like to do.
Mm.
And I think in general, at least for myself, if somebody understands that is exactly what you want, like whatever it is, I don't think most of people would criticize or judge you in the end. A lot of people, I think, could potentially comment on something that you just see or, you know, heard, not knowing much about it. But then once you communicate about that, if it matters to you, let's say, as a young female barista, that it matters to you, you train yourself to communicate that with people around you to make them understand actually that's what you like to do. I think that's how you kind of like counter these boundaries of what you're supposed to do, but they actually stay on your side and say, so that's why you're doing it. It's not just a barista job. It's more passion. You like to learn something new.
Yeah.
You got inspired by somebody because, and I think that why can easily solve. It's a miscommunication in the end that you are very much like judged by the society, that the society like around people around you kind of judge you. uh, but then I think we as a people have a responsibility to make them understand. So listen, it's not just we're not taking it just because it's just because I like it a lot, and you know that's the reason why I like it. I have a responsibility to explain, um, and especially different generations have different pictures or frames of what a barista means. I
Yeah.
remember when I said that to my father, being very reasonable to whatever I would like to do, but he didn't know what barista is. Yeah, he doesn't even
It's
drink
beautiful.
coffee. So, what is barista? I don't drink coffee. What is so crazy about coffee? He doesn't know, but it's not his fault. I have a responsibility to explain. And over time, he finds that I like it. He finds that I enjoy it, and he shows understanding. Yeah.
And that's right there. I think you just hit the nail right there. I suppose the question that people facing this dilemma, the question they should bounce back to their friends or families or relatives is, wouldn't you rather me being happy? Because at the end of
Yeah.
the day, what's the point of doing what's supposed to be right if you hate it? If you
Mm,
can't, you know, if you can't get up in the morning and you're not happy about what you do, then what's the point, right? So
mm,
I was lucky to grow up in, I mean, my parents are not perfect, like no one is, but they always say, look, as long as you're happy. So,
mm,
for my mom, who's a teacher, me telling her I'm not going to uni it could have been a big blow. But
mm.
instead, it was like, okay, look, as long as you're happy and as long as, you don't treat our house as a hotel, I was like, yeah, that's fine. That's when I went to Australia and I never came back.
Mm.
But yeah, cool. Enough about me. I think, yeah, what you say is right. And setting the why, the reasoning, and being
Mm.
happy is absolutely paramount. Uh, Going back more onto coffee, Amy, sorry for
Mm.
swinging back and forth, but
No
all
problem.
relevant questions because people will enjoy what you say. What's your brewing style? How do you like to brew?
Um, so I like to brew in a different way. But I like to try to make the coffee best out of in front of what I have. So, looking at the coffee beans, or thinking of the origin process, I would try to think. The coffee is quite heavy, so I would like to try to shapen it down. That coffee's highlight is mouthfeel, so I try to highlight it. Or this coffee has such a peculiar aroma that I would like to, again, like was highlighted and stuff like that. So based on that, I try to then design brewing methods, brewing equipment, a recipe, grind size, whatever you name it. So I try to showcase what is inside of the coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
beautiful.
nothing necessarily to do with my preference in flavors. I think I like all sorts of flavors. If it's 3 or 5 or 10, I don't necessarily like the cup with 10 flavors always. I think sometimes it's nice to have three. And I think if you're conscious about it, and then if that's what you like today, I think it's nice. Like today, for instance, in the morning, I'm having a nice Kenyan coffee,
Mhm.
washed, super juicy, super sweet. For my palate, it's not like super acidic or super complex, but it's really like long lasting, sweet, like it doesn't give me a headache. It's morning, 9:30. That's what you need. I mean, that's what I
It
like. But then
sounds delicious. Yeah.
but I think I try to choose coffees based on what I feel like or what I like to highlight, and then I brew it in a way and that it can hopefully highlight the best.
Of course, and from my understanding, the idea behind bringing the Larina coffee to the world was to change mindset around Brazilian coffees, right?
I mean,
A little
that was,
bit, change.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. That
Right.
was a part of it, but because that was myself in August, cupping coffees, the first impression um, I had that time was I was profiling coffee from origins, like different origins, different processing, varietals. But then I felt a little bit struggling because I'm not the farmer. I'm not the roaster either. I don't roast. All I know is I like a nice cup of coffee in a cup. So if you hear Brazil, I'm like, yeah, it's going to be chocolatey, and nothing is wrong about it. But I was already
Sure.
um, categorizing that. I even thought it's a knowledge to profile. This is coffee from here in this way processed, so it would taste like. And then there's always characters from terroir or from processing, but I forgot to be surprised by like unknown, species, so to say. So I really like the surprise that I put it in a way like discovery, but not like I discovered it. It was more like my own discovery that my perception was wrong, saying, "Oh, it could be chocolatey." It was just like nothing to do with what I ever knew about Brazil. And then I like this diversity. Like knowing what it could be is nice because it shows your experience. Like, if you've been doing coffee, you have even like thicker book of your knowledge about coffees from different regions. But I reminded myself saying like that's good, but it's also be ready to be surprised.
Of
And that
course.
happens to be Larina. And I was lucky because, I had this perception that I was totally like smashed. I was like, no.
Well, it worked out well, shall we say.
Yes.
So my next question is, what's the next origin you would like to work with, showcase as more as a, I suppose, underdog or something
Right.
that,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. It's a very, very good question. I mean, since I'm not that long in coffee, I mean, I've been there, let's say 2015, so it's, let's say 5 years. It's only five, yeah, even four harvests happened in my little coffee career. Um, so I would love to keep discovering what's happening in Brazil because that's,
Mhm.
I think still people think it's a coffee of chocolatey flavors. There are much more. Um, I would also think of Kenya, which was given a beautiful coffee still now, and for me it was the country of washed coffee. Now, obviously, it's no longer only washed, and that's quite interesting because they're going to somewhere they might not know as much as. But so far, I've been very impressed by the end result, and a lot of Central Americas like El Salvador, Ecuador, Bolivia,
Mm.
Honduras. I mean, for some people, I guess it's not necessarily a surprise, but for me, or Colombia, like I thought Colombian coffee is always citric. Obviously not. I'm finding different flavors coming over, and yeah, so I don't know. I
That's
can't name
fantastic.
more.
No, no, that's brilliant. I think,
Yeah.
you said. I think your answer is actually better than my question because you're right. There is still so many more coffees to be discovered in each of those countries. Obviously, there are more and more countries up and coming, so
Mm,
we'll see more in the near future, hopefully. Um,
mm.
and no, you're right. You're right. I mean, one of my favorite coffees that I've ever drunk was from Bolivia, and
Yeah.
and that was my first ever Bolivian coffee, and it was roasted by White Horse in Sydney, the boys from Sydney. So there
Mm.
you go. And this is not even here, but it kind of popped in my head now. I mean,
Mm.
how long have you been outside of Japan now?
In and out since I was 18, so it's 14 years. Crazy.
Yeah, because we share this similar. Because I've been not quite 13, but yeah, I've been away from home about 9 years. So,
Wow.
um, always Europe for the past 14 years, or mostly Europe, or
Yeah, always Europe. Yeah, I spent a year in London and then since then in and out in Switzerland. So I count 10 years saying I've moved myself completely from Japan to Switzerland since 10 years. But in between, I was studying, I was going back and I came back and, like kind of doing this. So yeah.
it's actually funny because my hometown is only 2 hour drive from Switzerland, so that's
Ah,
you're very close to where I live. I get it.
yes.
You don't need to tell me what it looks like. I know what it looks like. The mountains. I miss the
Yeah,
mountains.
it's
But,
beautiful. Yeah.
and how was adapting? How was adapting to European life?
Well, so I think I've been again lucky that it was Switzerland. So when I arrived before Switzerland, I went to London. That was where I thought like, wow, the world is like thousand times bigger than I thought. coming from Japan, it's an island, you know, I was 18, I had no clue, I couldn't speak English, like broken, like totally like nothing. And you discover, and then also in Japan, it's like nicely, you know, it's about group rather than individual sometimes, not in a negative way, but the society works because everybody thinks about the society. It's nicely unified and stuff like this. And then when I left Japan for London, that was all about diversity. Like everybody was Londoner, and then nobody was typical London. Like what is British? Like, you know, it's nothing. Yeah, it was just like out of a box, and I really liked that diversity. And then I went back to Japan and I came to Switzerland, and then Switzerland is for me like Japan. A lot of similarities. It works well, but I can understand why it works well. In the end, it's about, you know, it's not always about individuals. It's better said, like by their thinking a lot, let's say, individuals for the society. So that's very similar. For me, I had
Nice.
almost like no. The only thing was that I had to learn German, and then that's it. Like the mentality wise, it's very similar. So I just didn't have any problem. And they're more international, so which I even like. You know, like I have both. That I mean, I grew up with this culture. Plus, I still have a little community of experts, which is for me a diversity. So
Of
it meshed
course.
perfectly in Zurich. I love it. It's just like
That's
you have it
beautiful.
basically. I mean, I have both what I like. Yeah.
That sounds amazing. I'm glad. I'm very glad. I'm very glad.
Yeah.
Uh, as usual, when we approach the halfway mark of the podcast, I'll ask these questions to be
Mm.
outside the box. But if you could, Emmy, who would you like to have dinner with?
Oh. That's a very nice question. Who I would like to talk the most, right?
Doesn't have to be coffee. Whoever you want. Let's
There's
think
so
back.
many people. There's so many
I
people
know.
that it's just like I wish I could open their brain and then look up like what is happening in your brain. Like that's what I always kind of picture. Who are maybe Sasha. Sasha
Oh, okay.
Sastic. Yeah, it
Okay.
just came to mind.
Okay.
Um, I would really like to see what's happening in his head. I admire him a lot as
Fantastic.
a business professional, but more than that, as a person. Like I met him for the first time in 2015 because I was competing there in Seattle. That's the way. That's the year he won, right? I had no clue about coffee, and I happened to win the national, so I could go to the world, but I was still a home barista, so I had no clue whatsoever. And I was shaking because, you know, you see all those like big people that I've watched their routines on YouTube and then they're live, and I was crying like, oh my goodness, I cannot go on the same stage. Yeah, yeah, really. And Sasha was a gentleman, that one of those gentlemen, well, could be a female as well, but like any professionals who just came very smartly and presented the coffee he believed in and won. And it was just like, oh, I don't know how many times I saw his presentations, and I was trying to kind of like steal anything I could learn from him, like the way he presents and, you know, like anything. And I want to know how he did it because it's just 15 minutes, but obviously you have a huge amount of processing. And then speaking of him competing years and years in Australia, and then on the world stage and the one. So I would like to even like read a book about like I don't know him in his brain, what's happening. So I think it
Oh,
would be nice to have a dinner.
well, Janina can hook you up. She's saying that she had a few dinners with him, of course. Good one too, and he brews coffee after dinner. So she's putting it out there.
I'm jealous.
Uh,
I'm jealous.
actually, I actually saw him last week because he came to Melbourne to
uh,
the launch of Honor
yes,
Melbourne. So
yes.
I was
I'm
lucky to
talking
see
from
him for a
here.
little bit.
Yeah, nice.
Um, no, that's good. Yeah, look, I'm sure he would love to have dinner with you. And look, yeah, I watched that routine a few times myself, and it's incredible that he was actually sick like a dog
Mhm.
the night before and the same day. So
Yeah,
that's that's the best part of the story for me. It's like, wow, you didn't look sick to me, but that's me
No.
watching on YouTube. Um, so, well, all right. Whilst we're here in terms of competition, what's your secret that pushed you towards winning, and and what that process looked like in terms of hours and days and sweat of amount of training that you
Well,
had to go through?
I've been, let's say, only competing since 2015, and I've been so far super lucky. Um,
Give
I
yourself
don't,
some credit. I think
yeah,
not just lucky,
yeah, well,
deserve that.
yeah. Um, so my competition routine always is like when I'm working. So even you were champion, you're still working. I mean, yes, of course, right? And besides work, anything that is left is given to do anything to do with competition. But doesn't mean I think I'm like drinking 10 times 10,000 cup of coffee. No, no, it's more about what do I need to improve. So if I don't know about the coffee that I've chosen, that took time to find out, for instance. Like to look for coffee, I think that's where I give it most of the time. So I keep cupping, trying to imagine which one I feel very emotionally connected to, and also scoring in which way on a, let's say, score sheet. And
Mhm.
knowing that it wouldn't happen as much as you imagine, because again, plan never goes as you plan. um, Having said that, I think once you find your coffee, I think I would like to know in and out what's happening, anything good, anything bad. So that to do this, I think there are many ways that you can. There are nights that we just don't sleep and then we just keep trying, like any recipe you can think of. And there are nights that I say no, I can't. Like I really don't want. And then I say, you know what, I need a good piece of meat. I don't know. Then I would go to my favorite restaurant and I would try to like spoil my palate and try to say, okay, there's another better day tomorrow.
Yeah.
And there are days that I actually don't really like presenting myself on stage because that's not really my nature. I don't know if you see my video talking about the recipes for monthly mame. I really don't feel like talking to a camera alone. I like talking like this.
Okay,
So I
I'm
have
glad. I was
no,
gonna ask you.
I have no problem interviewing or discussing with a human being, but I have such a difficulty to talk to a camera because it's not
Present. Yeah.
natural for me. So I have things that I would like to say, but it's so unnatural for me that I feel very stressed. So this is not good because you have to present in front of people or possibly in front of thousands of people. So I have to work on my confidence, way of presenting, wording, because it's not my mother tongue and stuff like that. And there are days that I just spend on time like that.
Yeah, and I think even identifying those shortfalls,
Hmm.
it's good. It's good awareness because then you can start working and tackle uh, those, let's call them issues. They're not issues. It's just allowing you
No,
to go to the next level. That's absolutely right.
absolutely. And
100%.
I do include people who are better than me in that. So
Fantastic.
when I cup to look for my cup coffee, I always do with Matthew because he's for me a nice bouncing idea person. He has ideas that I might not have. He would see something that I wouldn't see. He might even have disagreements with me, so I'm confronted to say that's why I think like that. And sometimes it works, sometimes I think he's right. You know, that's good to be made sure that what I'm thinking is right because I have to be able to present it. I have to be able to explain this. So it's not like I like it, but why do you like it? Why do you like it? You know, like you have to. I have to be able to explain that. That's a nice training. So I do that with him. When I have a problem with water, I would ask a water expert. If I have a problem with presentation, I'll ask a friend who's been, I don't know, like a theater actor, like how to how to train on your voice or how to work on your intonations and then if I present my shows, I would collect other competitors and then ask them to judge because it's really involved with people. Like I really don't think I can do that alone. Um,
I think
yeah,
you touched on a very good point again, because you keep doing it, which is great. It's so important. A lot of people get stopped and held up, and yeah, we live in 2020, the easiest times in history to reach out to anyone, even online. I mean,
yeah,
I literally sent you a DM hoping
yeah.
that you even see it. That's it.
Mm, mm,
And here you
I
are.
tried.
Like, no, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and not everyone has answered. I mean, most people have, I gotta say, really about 70% of people, but
Mm,
that ends up in requests, or they don't know active on Instagram. But I think that the general advice out there that I usually like to share is just reach out to people that you look up to, and you never know. They
mm,
might give a word, an hour of their times on a phone call,
yeah.
a, a sponsorship. You never know.
Yeah, you
So
never know.
and the worst comes to worst is that they will never reply to you, which it's fine because you already reach out to new potential mentors. And a little bit more curious questions on the finals.
Mm.
Um, did you wear that shirt to match the flavors in the cup? It's just my brain was like, hang on, she's describing the flavors, and I was looking at your shirt, and I was like, did she do it
It's
on?
true. No, actually not.
I was like, okay, there you go.
No, actually not. Um, um, it's a very funny question. I never thought about it. Um, on the competition, you have to wear apron.
Yeah.
And because of my height, I don't like apron that it goes all over my body. It has to be small. And to
Mhm.
wear that, I need a skirt. And that skirt is often black. And then if it's a black, I would like a colorful shirt. That's kind of my logic. And then anything I have as a shirt, I just picked one. And I had two shirts or three shirts, I don't remember. And I just grabbed one. And yeah, but it kind of my lucky shirt. It became my lucky blues. But yeah, I didn't think about
There you go.
it.
I was watching. I was like, I think that's
Yeah.
what's happening here. All right, there you go.
Uh,
Maybe your next final,
yeah.
you
Yeah,
can
I
get a
can think of
custom
it.
made shirt with the flavors on the cup. Um,
Yeah, it's a good plan. It's a good plan.
yeah, yeah. But more general question now is, what do you love the most about the coffee community, people, industry in general, I suppose?
I like it the most because it's diverse.
Mm-hmm.
It's like nothing is, I'm often asked what's the best coffee or like what's the best of whatever. Like, yeah, if I know, I wish I would know, but otherwise, like it's also boring. Like you talked about this 100% thing. Like if I know what the best is, so why shall I try? And then your best is different from my best, and I want to know why that's your best, not to challenge you, but
To
to
create
understand.
conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, since being in London and discovered this diversity of human or communities or whatever, the world is big but small at the same time. Like humans are humans.
Mhm.
Um, but then I really like this diversity because you can just go on and on, endless conversations with anybody in whatever. And then I like that feeling. It's not about what I say is right, but it's more like what I say, and then you would say something different. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't conflict you. I'm just curious. What made you think like that? So anything to do with, nothing to do with coffee, but in general, I feel very comfortable being in coffee community, connected with different continents from different circumstances in the coffee chain. You could be in a farm, you can be a green bean trader, you can be a roaster, it could be, let's say, just a barista, but you can talk coffee.
Yeah.
Somehow it's the same but different. So
I love it.
diverse but simple. Like complicated but simple. Yeah,
That
yeah.
that was beautiful. I will sit on it and digest and process
No.
what you just said. I think no. I think that was really in its simplicity. Your answer was actually very deep. And Janina saying your way of thinking about coffee is so cool. I agree.
Oh, thanks.
100%. And it's true. It's about creating the conversation. And guess what? The conversation also happens, fun enough, coffee brings people to conversate even on a consumer level. Let's catch up for coffee also means, hey, I want to see you.
Yes,
I want to hear
exactly.
you. I want to talk to you. We just happen that, and they might be talking about football, cars, kids, family, dogs, whatever it is. And we might be just talking about coffee or even other things. And I think that coffee bring people together from the entire chain, like you just said. So, yeah, I don't want to make any further comments. Yours was just impeccable. I loved it.
Okay, thanks.
And you mentioned London, but compared to London, how is Switzerland and the rest of the European countries you've been, the coffee scene over there? Because I'm stuck in Australia.
So being in Switzerland is a very interesting experience in terms of coffee drinking culture, because it's next to Italy. Italy is underneath. And so southern part of Europe, or like let's say west south, like that's often like espresso culture, very concentrated, let's say strong coffee. Whereas if you go up in the north, like Germany, Scandinavian countries, let's say colder countries, they might go for filter, like just to categorize. I like the diversity. It's coming naturally from like customs or culture. When it comes to Switzerland specifically, so there's this traditional Italian espresso, and also it's a headquarter of Nespresso in Switzerland. So each household, I think, almost has Nespresso machine, or in the office. It's quite common to have capsule machines. So that shows that quite many people have coffee in their life, in different manners, different timings, etc. So that's very, let's say, solid. And then obviously being in Switzerland, having a beautiful milk, everybody loves milk coffee. So I think we use, as a tiny shop, I think we use like 200 liters of milk a week. And we call ourselves almost like a milk shop, not the coffee shop, because, I think 60% of our customers take anything to do with milk drink. Tasty, it's just a kind of my observation. So from this, speaking about specialty coffee culture in Switzerland, it is a young industry, because coffee has been here for decades. But thinking about, sustainabilities or story or quality behind, I think it's been, let's say, 20 years, since the competition is here. Compared with wine or beer, it's definitely young industry. So there less awareness in that. However, I see it as a chance, because people are interested. It's just that they don't know. Nothing is wrong about it. And then we try to engage conversations, and some stay, some go. And for me, both parties are my customers. I don't value people staying much more than the ones who are leaving, because they would have their, let's say, all arguments why the method towards specialty coffee didn't work. Some people don't like acidities in coffee. Do you have to like acidities in coffee when it comes to specialty coffee? Maybe not. There are some coffees that are not too acidic or pungent. And it's also the very first beer of your life is bitter. Nobody likes it, right? But then over time, it's the social aspect over it, like you kind of try, and then it becomes your water, and then you love it. And then once you love it, you can discover something new. So,
but also that bitterness, you can put 2 teaspoons of sugar, because that's what happened in Italy, to find the bitterness, which is a paradox if you think about it. Now, you're right. It becomes a social aspect. I love how you keep bringing up the diversity, as well as how, it's important to create conversation. And especially what you said about the customers, when I was talking to Janina, she made a good remark in terms of that everyone is good. They're keeping alive the industry by ordering that cup of coffee.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
I totally agree. So. I'm not gonna, we shouldn't judge which customer are our customers. Like those who only like particular coffees, our customers. Absolutely not. Anybody who enters our shop is a customer of ours, and then let's see what kind of relationships we can create on this, right? Yeah.
I mean, that's the same for me with cars. I wouldn't have any
Mm,
clues. So someone would have to explain it to me, right?
mm.
No one is an expert of the industry. They're not part of it. And quoting Rubens Gardelli, acidity is not a crime. He has a beautiful
Yes,
t-shirt.
I
So
love the T-shirt.
I
No,
think
it's
that's a
not a
good way to
crime.
close it. It's not
Yeah,
a crime. So I think in your words, I think acidity, sweetness, brightness, bitterness, none of them are a crime as
yeah.
long as it creates a good, balanced experience for the people who are coming in for whatever reason they're coming in. And
Mm.
especially it's hospitality. I think that the people element is something that we've forgotten, and I keep repeating this throughout the episodes. I think that people, especially with after the lockdowns, and especially
Mm.
after so many years, focused too much in the cup, and we built up a barrier. We
Yeah.
got these big, gigantic, beautiful looking machines that keep us away. It's like a
Yeah,
wall. I think people ultimately want that bartender experience like we see in the movies. Okay, tell
absolutely.
me your problems.
Yes,
Have
yeah,
a
yeah, absolutely.
conversation.
Psychologist aspect, that's part of our job.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Look, we're slowly but too fastly approaching the end of the hour, and Instagram is really brutal when it comes to cutting
I
down the
know.
show, the streams, it. So, uh, before I'll ask you the last couple of questions, thank you for coming on. It was really
Pleasure.
humbling and really a pleasure to meet you. Hopefully, one day in real life with you and
Yeah, in
Matthew,
person.
because
Yeah,
we're interviewing him as well. We don't want him,
yeah.
of course. Um, and thank you for him to join us. And yeah, I hope a lot of people will definitely find lots of values, and I liked a lot of things that you say. So thank you.
Thanks.
Um, Leading up to the last two questions, I mean, what's your coffee mission?
My coffee mission so far of 2020 is to bring up beautiful coffee on stage to be heard. I
Hmm.
think I can do very little, not being on the farm. Or I know I can't understand, though. I should never say I can imagine how hard it is on the farm because I'm not a farmer. I am not. Like I would be trying to do it, but I would never understand how hard and how much they are working on it. I rather
Mm-hmm.
let them do it, like I shouldn't be able to do everything together. But when I would brew a cup of coffee, that's an end chain, I mean, end station of the huge chain that happens behind me. So I
Absolutely.
hope I will be able to communicate that to a person who is drinking it. I would like to do that with variations of coffees.
Mm-hmm.
Some unexpected, some surprising, some funky, some ordinaries. But I try to give a value to that, both espressos and filters, because I think that's what a farmer cannot do.
Suppose
So,
I think that the word "a diverse coffee" would fit very well
yeah,
with your
yeah.
with your words. So leading up to the last one, I mean, so what's next for you? So that's your mission, but what's next on your planet in terms of Mame, in terms of projects?
Right.
The stage is
So,
yours.
having said about this, presenting diversity in coffee,
Hmm.
I'm going to the World Championship 2020. I won a barista championship. So again, I got the ticket to go on the stage. So I'm on a mission of finding a coffee that can go with me on the stage. I'm in the progress. I've been cupping different coffees and stay on eye, like keeping on eye it, being open about it. And the same thing, like, I try to do that with Matthew and other people with different coffees. That's one. And I'm very excited to do that as our own brand, being Mame. So it's also
Hmm.
representing our creation on the world stage, which is very, very nice because the past 4 years
Beautiful.
we were not roasting. We started to roast last year. So, which was also a very nice experience because there was somebody who was roasting for me. But then this time, Matthew is roasting for me. And then obviously we try to improve the roast curves and experience and stuff like that together. So it's a nice project.
100%.
Um, After that, after World Championship, I think we are really hoping to spread that. So we have this interesting program called Monthly Mame. So if you buy it every month, a mysterious 100 grams of coffee would arrive to you. So with a
Mm.
small pack of aqua code that you can make a water the way I say you can take X amount of distilled water and mix it, and then you have the same ppm as I am in Zurich, wherever you are. You can brew the way you like, but you can also follow what I would say. So we can have a cup of coffee, same experience. When you're in Australia, and then we can describe the same way. So I think it's like juicy black currants, but how can you know if you don't have the same cup of coffee? When you're drinking
I
it,
get you.
it's the best way to say you're now drinking, and they say, it tastes like blackcurrants, and then often you're like, yeah, and then that yeah affects. It's very difficult when you're spread in the world. So I'm trying to,
Basically, you're
yeah,
trying to connect people to the same sensorial experience. I love it.
yeah. And then
That's
I'm
amazing.
I'm on a mission of finding a unique coffee for this program, basically every month. So I'm pumped. I have to find different coffees, small batches and super
Of
special. And
course. That's amazing. And obviously, the world will be hopefully in Melbourne. So, home for
hopefully,
me.
yes.
And hopefully, even though you'll be very busy and very,
Nah.
you know, under the pressure, hopefully I'll get to see you
Yeah,
and Matthew
absolutely. Yeah, in
in
person.
yeah, 100%. But this has
Yeah.
been a delight, a treat. I think lots of people loved it,
Thank you very
and then
much.
we'll rewatch and re-listen to this. Uh, Thank you again for coming in, giving up an hour of your busy schedule.
Thank
I
you very
really
much.
appreciate it. I'm very grateful for it, and yeah, I can't wait to see more about you guys, about you, and also hopefully here in Melbourne.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You
Thanks.
have an awesome day. It's a Saturday for you. That's the
Yeah.
end for me. But yeah, and hopefully maybe in a few months we can do this again as
Sure.
a
Pleasure.
check-in. And episode 2.
Episode
Amazing.
2.
Thank you, Amy.
All
Thank you very
right.
much.
Thank you, guys.
Have a lovely day. Bye
You
bye.
too. Bye bye.
There you have it, guys. I think Tanti just represented well. Very sweet and inspiring. I agree with you, Tanti. That's why I pinned your comment. Yeah, thank you all for sticking around. Thank you for especially Emmy, of course. I'll thank her later in a second on a DM. And look, now it's shout out time. Big shout out to Os Consult. You've been here all time. Noshu, Gize, Lucas, starting right now, not later. I know you. Hopefully, I'll see you soon. Coffee Talk, Taka, Tanti. That's an amazing comment. And we got Janina. Thank you for you made us laugh a couple of times. Danielle, Naked Coffee, Abe, Marina, Peter, and we got Aileen, Rosie, Pablo the Barista, Lucas, Taka, and Yuki in Melbourne. Thank you all for tuning in. Feel free to take a screenshot. We'll repost this on our YouTube and podcast for people who will listen and watch this later. It's always a pleasure. We'll see you back on Friday with Jared Truby from Cat and Cloud Coffee, another amazing individual. And yeah, feel free to share this with your coffee friends, family, and just the people that you think that would find this valuable. It means the world to me for you guys to be here, and I'll see you soon on Friday. It will be 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, and I'll always remind you with the stories. But until then, stay safe, and I'll see you on Friday.